Hi, I'm Shane.
And I'm Tony.
And we're here from the Drum Center of Portsmouth. We are on the web at drumcenternh.com. And today we are doing a revolutionary versus evolutionary, a battle of the boxy sounds. And I mean that in a good way. This is the Gretsch USA Custom versus the Pearl Masters Maple Gum.
There are a lot of similarities between these two kits, and we've heard from a lot of you guys that you're curious, why would you buy one over the other? They're both relatively the same price. So we wanted to see what was what and put them next to each other. Both of these kits have a lot of similarities with the shells and the bearing edges. The shells are both maple gum. The configuration of the plies is slightly different. These are very similar recipes, die-cast hoops. They just have kind of a similar vibe across the board. However, there are some slight differences that I found while we were making this video.
Most notably, the 5 lugs on the 12-inch tom. That is the standard for Gretsch, whereas Pearl and the rest of the industry, for the most part, uses at least 6 lugs on the 12-inch tom. Why would Gretsch put 5 lugs on a 12-inch tom? When we go back to the 1940s, the 1950s, and the jazz clubs in New York, Gretsch was right over there in Brooklyn making all of these drums, and what they found was that jazz drummers didn't have a lot of money. So they needed to make their drums more affordable. So one of the things they could do was put less hardware on a 12-inch drum. Now the problem with having a 12-inch drum with 5 lugs on it, with the heads that were being made in those days, you had to crank them up. So they had a very, very high pitch sound. Stretching the heads out, tuning it, and they found that, well, that wasn't working either, so they invented the die-cast hoop. We have a real historical aspect here, but they still make kick-ass drums.
Stop it. Get some help.
Now Pearl, on the other hand, is a completely different entity. They're 75 years old. They just celebrated their 75th anniversary this year, so happy birthday, Pearl. Today, they sit as one of the finest drum manufacturers in the world. One thing I just love about Pearl is that they are never satisfied with themselves for too long. They are constantly finding ways to bring you new sounds. And the maple gum recipe comes down from the Masterworks program. And the Masterworks program was something that Pearl pioneered many years ago and brought us all these different shell combinations, all these different sounds at a time where nobody was doing this. And what they found is they condensed the most popular shell recipes into what we call the Sonic Select shell recipes. What they found the most popular was the maple gum, which is what we are showing today. And we're seeing guys like Shannon Forrest, Todd Suckerman, they're both using that particular shell recipe. Well, what Pearl did is said, well, how do we make it even more affordable and get it out of Masterworks pricing? And that's what we have here, the limited edition Masters Maple Gum.
While putting these kits together, I noticed obviously many differences between the way each brand kind of handles their drums. And with Pearl, you're getting a more modern kit. So it's something that if you're gigging a lot or if you're taking the drums in and out of studios all the time, the consistency and ease of setup with the Pearl kit is a little bit more ideal in my opinion. The tuning was a little bit quicker. The bass drum spurs were a little more rock solid. I just think that you're getting a bit more of a modern kit with the Pearl.
I have to respectfully kind of disagree with Tony on this one. I know that I personally don't care for the rim style mounts that Gretsch uses, but I don't see the Pearl bass drum spurs or even floor tom brackets to be superior to the Gretsch. I think it's just a matter of opinion.
For snare drums, we didn't have a Pearl maple gum snare drum, so we had to select something that was in the same vein but a little different. Went with a Music City Custom solid maple snare drum, and I really like these. I think that they get overlooked a fair amount with all the boutique solid ply snare drums on the market, but there's something to be said about the consistency that these offer, and they tune up really easily.
I love Pearl snare drums, and I always have. I love the hardware that they use. I love the throw-offs. I love the snare wires. So many people will say, well, the shell makes all the difference in the sound, and that is not the case. The type of lugs that you put on there, the type of hardware, all have a small influence in how the drum is going to sound. And so I know that a drum shell with Pearl hardware on it is going to sound great. So when they started doing this with a solid ply shell, I was very excited because I love the price, but they sound incredible. They feel good too. This is just these are great drums.
Yep. For Gretsch, we had a bunch of USA Custom snare drums in stock, so it was just pick one that looked halfway decent with the kit. They tune very easily, they have a full sound. I think they get overlooked as a standalone snare drum a little bit more than they should.
I think people focus on the chrome over brass. Yeah. That seems to be that Gretsch snare drum, but the wood snare drums sound great too.
Yep. So Shane, what did you think about the two kits sound-wise?
They both had the similar thing. You know, Gretsch has a oversized shell, and Pearl's has a slightly oversized shell. So basically, with the way the head sits on that shell, and coupled with the die-cast tube, we're going to get a real boxy, focused, pointed sound, which sounds good in the medium and the higher tunings. It's that what we guess we could call the studio standard.
Yeah, I think if anything, I noticed the Pearls had a somewhat more contained sound. The Gretsch drums seemed to be a little more finicky to tune, but when you got them there, they had like a more open, bigger sound. Especially in the low end, I felt like the sustain in the low end on the Pearl was a little bit tightened up. One person may look at the Gretsch kit and go, that's what I want to see when I sit down behind my drum set. Another guy may say, it does nothing for me. I actually really want to sit behind the Pearl. So it's like, it really comes down to which one makes you feel inspired.
Exactly, because either one is going to be a good choice.
Yeah.
Now, Gretsch, you're going to get a little more options in terms of what you can order. With Pearl, we have a little more limited options unless you get that shell recipe in the Masterworks program, and then it becomes crazy what you can do option-wise. We hope you enjoyed this video. We'd love to hear your feedback. Please let us know in the comments below. The links to buy the drums and cymbals are in the description below. Thanks a lot for watching. We appreciate the support.
Thank you.